Support for WUWM podcast comes from Hop Harvest and Vine and Good Harvest Market in Pewaukee, part of One Destination, combining farm-to-table dining, local craft beers, and organic groceries under one roof. More at goodharvestmarket.com.
From 89.7 WUWM, Milwaukee's NPR, this is Lake Effect. I'm Audrey Nowakowski. Today, we'll check in with the new owners of Milwaukee's Science and Surplus to hear how the changing economic landscape is impacting the business.
We have a lot of regulars. So regulars who have been buying the same item for years at the same price. And now they're like, oh, this has gone up a lot.
Then we'll tell you about Milwaukee Messi, a soccer player from the area competing in the World Cup. Plus, we'll meet a local sailor participating in a boat race from Washington to Alaska.
The boat itself, I feel like if you're a romantic like me, it has its own essence and it has its own vibe now, and it's a living thing because of the way it moves and how I've worked with it.
All that's coming up on Lake Effect. This is Lake Effect from 89.7 WUWM, Milwaukee's NPR. I'm Audrey Nowakowski. Thanks for joining us. American Science and Surplus is a Milwaukee staple for many science enthusiasts and DIYers. While its online store has closed, its brick-and-mortar locations in Milwaukee and Illinois remain open under new employee ownership. The previous owner, Pat Meyer, started a GoFundMe last year to try and keep the stores open. But when efforts failed to reduce inventory and relocate its warehouse, Meyer stepped down as owner. Now, former store manager Kim Stangline owns the Milwaukee location. Stangline spoke with WUWM's Eddie Morales last December about how a challenging economy is shaping the store's inventory and future. As a part of WUWM's Economic Check-In series, Stangline shares some of the ongoing and new economic challenges the store is facing.
I'm still working on reordering some of the merchandise that we had been carrying prior to the sale of the store. And each one of those orders, I'm finding significant cost increases to myself that are having to get pushed out onto the customer pricing as well. Tariffs, yep, there's been some companies that I've ordered from that we were previously ordering from outside of the United States. One of the biggest companies that sells electronic soldering kits, which I really wanted to bring in, comes from Belgium, even though they kind of represent themselves as being a company based in the United States. All their shipping is done from Belgium. So I ordered these kits having no idea that by the time I paid to get them here, I paid as much to get them here as I did for the kits. So I can't order from them again because those tariffs they're not affordable kits anymore to the customers. So in order to sell them, I did kind of eat a little bit of those tariffs, and I'd love to be able to buy them again. We can't absorb those tariffs anymore, though. New concerns that you asked about, too, gas prices. I just paid for a pallet to come from California, $459 just to get one pallet of merchandise. All that had to get absorbed into the costs, which I wish I didn't have to do that, but that's just how you have to operate. I think that same pallet I ordered 5-6 months ago, and I want to say my cost was about $200 less. So it's hard because you want to be nice. You want to have good pricing for your customers, but it's that $459. I just can't eat that. It has to go into the pricing. So I was, right before you walked in, working out all that new pricing for this one vendor.
Do you have any examples, too, of how that affects daily interactions with customers or customers themselves dealing with price increases, in their daily lives, groceries, gas, and things like that? Has that changed that interaction with customers?
Sure, of course it has. We have a lot of regulars. So regulars who have been buying the same item for years at the same price. And now they're like, oh, this has gone up a lot. And it seems very obvious to us, but to the consumer, all they see is, wow, that price went up $2 since the last time I bought these a month ago. Finding that polite way of saying, yep, our price went up too, so I can't just keep charging the same as we did before. We hear that often. It's disheartening to hear, but we understand it, trying to explain it to the customers in a way that they understand that we're not just lining our pockets with this extra money we're charging them. We're getting charged extra.
In our last chat, you talked about stepping up and becoming the store's new owner, and how that wasn't initially how that wasn't something that was on your radar. So how do you feel about the decision now, and what's been challenging, but also what has been rewarding about stepping up and taking this role?
I don't regret it at all. It's been a lot. It's been a lot more than I was anticipating, but I don't regret it. And challenging still is establishing with vendors and possibly finding new sources for merchandise. In all honesty, and this is not to say anything negative about the previous owner, there was a little bit of a wake left out there with some vendors who, when I contact them as far as trying to establish myself and starting to be able to make purchases with them, there's just some vendors that hear the name American Science and Surplus and they're like, no, we're sorry, we can't do business with you. And learning about things like payroll and where can we try to keep our costs down to keep the store profitable and sustainable. And while right now our customer count is a little lower, it's summertime, well, we're lowering our payroll a little bit. That's just one way that we can try to keep my overhead down and still keep the store profitable. Right now I am slowing down on my ordering process a little bit. I've been ordering a lot of merchandise for the last 8 months, and we have a lot of merchandise. So while we're in the slow periods of summer, we're also slowing down on ordering because we don't need as much right now. Even though it's the fun part of my job, sometimes I got to focus on the not so fun things.
Yeah, and then if you could just talk about what's been rewarding or fulfilling since you've taken over this role.
The customer feedback. So being the person now who is making most of the decisions about what merchandise we're bringing in, the customer feedback has been really rewarding. We get a lot of positive comments about the new merchandise that's coming in. Not a personal thing. I don't do most of the merchandising here myself, but hearing the compliments on how well organized the store has gotten. We always tried to be as organized as we could for the type of diverse product selection that we have, but Lily, the store manager, has been really focusing on trying to get the store looking better, the merchandising better, things making more sense where they belong in the store. So we get a lot of positive compliments on that, and they were always nice to hear, but it's a proud moment for me where I'm like, look at how great she's doing. So it's rewarding in hearing how good my staff is doing with all the changes that have happened over the last 8 months. It's been a lot for them.
What are some of the things that not only that you've offered at the store throughout its history, but some of the newer offerings since you've been in this position, and also some of the, I think you mentioned before, like different programs or activities that you offer in the space. Can you speak to some of that?
Yeah, so prior to this time last year, we were running weekly events they were mostly geared towards kids. Anybody could come participate, and they were always on Sundays. And when things got rough towards the end of the American Science and Surplus Inc. era, we were told to stop running those events because they cost money that we didn't really have. So we're bringing our weekly events back. We are doing them a little bit differently. So a lot of the feedback we had been getting was, hey, this is fun, but I don't always want to make things with kids. So we're starting out doing one every week. On Thursday nights, there'll be after hours for adults, and then every other Sunday, they'll be during the afternoons, more geared towards kids. The first one that we're doing with the adults are wind chimes, make your own wind chime, and then we'll be doing, it's kind of like an intro to soldering where they can come in, learn how to solder. When they're done, they have a little blinking robot that they put together. Yeah, so those are starting up again. We did have our first science night last month of the year. We'll be having 2 more of those coming up this year, and then we're also planning a swap meet in August that will be outside, where we'll be putting out an invitation on Facebook in the next couple weeks for people who want to have tables there. The hope is that we'll have a little science demo going on out there as well, and some food trucks. But those weekly events will be happening every week. They'll all be posted on Facebook at the beginning of the month as to what the schedule is, and then reminders each week as to what they are.
Yeah, so I guess just the last thing is anything else you'd like to add, but also just how do you feel about sustainability for the store and the way that the economy has affected the store?
yeah, people are struggling right now to put food on the table and fill their gas tanks. So I know that our store is one more of, I don't want to say luxury, but in general, most people come here for fun, not out of necessity. So, sorry.
No problem.
I think maybe that hit me a little bit just because it is scary knowing that people don't need to come here. People want to come here, and needing to make sure that I have the products that they want to get it feels a little heavy, but making sure that we have the items in stock that people do need. People do need their switches, and they do need things to make their kids' science projects.
That was American Science and Surplus owner Kim Stenglein speaking with WUWM's Eddie Morales for our Economic Check-In series. You can find more conversations about how the changing economic landscape is impacting Wisconsinites with different economic needs at WUWM.com. The World Cup begins today, and Milwaukee has some representation. Esmir Bayraktarovic, representing Bosnia and Herzegovina, grew up in Appleton and played soccer in Milwaukee before being plucked into Major League Soccer. At 21 years old, he's a rising star in worldwide soccer. But his story is more than 30 years in the making and includes a civil war, found family, and bringing Milwaukee soccer up with him. Lake Effect Sam Woods has the story.
And Bosnia can win it with the next kick.
It's late March, and Bosnia and Herzegovina is playing Italy. The winner will qualify for the FIFA World Cup, and the loser stays home. The game is tied and will be won on the next penalty kick. And up walks Bosnia's rising star.
And it's Appleton, Wisconsin native Esmir Bayraktarovic. The Milwaukee Messi, the New England Revolution homegrown player, turned 21 2.5 weeks ago, can send Bosnia and Herzegovina to the World Cup.
Pause. You heard all of that right. Appleton native, the Milwaukee Messi, lining up to send Bosnia to the World Cup. But before he attempts this kick, let's rewind 15 years to Wisconsin's Fox Cities.
Yeah, I'm Liam Wasco. Basically, Esmer and I, we grew up just playing. We played against each other when we were younger, probably like 5 years old. Our dads were just talking after our game, and we kind of just clicked like that. Hung out every day since, played soccer together, traveled together.
Liam has known Esmir Bayraktarovic for about 15 years, and he remembers when they met.
I remember the exact day I met him, actually. We were warming up before a game, and my dad came up to my team and goes, there's this very good Bosnian kid that we're about to play against, and kind of warned our coach and all of us. And at the time, you didn't really think anything of it. You were probably just like, oh, it's just any other kid that's decent. But when we played against him, he was definitely stuck out. He did moves like I've never seen before at someone who was 5 years old. He was always ahead of everyone our age. So yeah, it was crazy.
I could not get a hold of Esmir or his parents for the story. But Esmir's parents are why he's representing Bosnia in the World Cup. They came to Appleton as refugees from the Bosnian War in the 1990s. Esmir, one of 3 children, may have grown up in Appleton, but his family's ties to Bosnia were never completely severed. And the Bayraktarovics knew the value of family and community. Liam's family, the Wascos, soon became close family friends with the Bayraktarovics, while their kids bonded on the pitch. Here's Mitzi Wasco, Liam's mom.
Honest to God, truth is, they're all amazing people. It's just one amazing family, and Esmer has the greatest family in the world. So, for us to be like his second family is like I said, an honor. But honestly, he already has a great family. His mom and dad are extremely kind people. In fact, I always tell his sister and Esmer, I'm like, your mother is like the nicest person I know. She's just so sweet, so kind. Same with their dad, same with his brother and sister. They're just extremely thoughtful people.
Soon, Mitzi was basically family to Esmir.
We're not blood family, but we consider each other family. And his nickname for me is Mom 2.0, which I love. And it's Mom 2.0 because we have spent an immense amount of time together since he was little, traveling to practices and games and tournaments. And because, you know, his family and our family have had so many years to get to know one another, it definitely is a close relationship. So we spend time together outside of those things even today. For example, we just saw them this past Saturday in St. Louis watching Esmir play against Panama.
That bond was solidified by years of traveling up and down I-41. Both Esmir and Liam quickly outgrew their competition in Appleton and began traveling to the Milwaukee area for practice and games. Multiple times per week, Esmir, Liam, and Liam's 5 siblings piled into the car for an hour-and-a-half drive each way to play. And Mom 2.0 was on the job.
Here's how it's going to work. We are going to do our homework on the way down. School's going to come first. You're not going to slip through the cracks. I don't want to hear anybody fail the test or whatever, you know. So the deal was get your homework done, then you can goof off on the way back if you really wanted to, or take a nap. Do whatever you want to do on the way back, but get your homework done on the way there. No one loved that rule, but everyone was really good about following it, and that's okay. You know, kids are kids.
But this choice to play in the Milwaukee area would give Esmir the opportunity to shine.
Yes, I'm Rob Becerra. At the time when Esmir came, I was the U15 head coach.
Rob Becerra is now the Director of Youth Development with the New England Revolution, a Major League Soccer club. But he still remembers when his colleague Marcelo Santos flagged Esmir as a player to watch, with a caveat.
And he's like, well, it's from Milwaukee. And I was like, it's fine. You say he's good. Let's take a look at this.
The, well, he's from Milwaukee caveat meant that the Milwaukee area was not a hotbed for soccer talent, the way a Southern California or New York or Chicago might be. It basically means, hey, I know this isn't where we usually look, but there's something to see here. And Becerra and team sporting director Kurt Onalfo saw what Santos saw in Esmir.
That Milwaukee idea was get out of your comfort zone, come take a look, come do some research, and let's find out. But Marcelo was very confident that he was good, and he was right. And then, you know, like I said, when Kurt and I saw it, it was let's go. We got to make this work.
Becerra soon recruited Esmir to play within the New England Revolution organization as a teen, and soon teammates started calling him the Milwaukee Messi, referring to Lionel Messi, arguably the greatest soccer player in recent memory. While the Milwaukee part of that nickname might have started as just easy alliteration, Becerra notes that Esmir may have opened up future opportunities for Milwaukee's soccer talent. Does the success of someone like Esmir change a narrative maybe about Milwaukee soccer?
Absolutely. I think the great thing about a story like Esmir is it just goes to show that great players can be anywhere. It doesn't have to be from a major city, from the big, you know, Southern California, from New York. There's great players playing in Milwaukee. There's great players playing in other places. And what that's done for us as a club is we've gone and found players in other places like Wyoming. And we found a great goalkeeper in Wyoming. Like we are not afraid to open the doors and look at places and find quote unquote undiscovered talent and undiscovered markets. But Milwaukee does have a proud soccer history. The Milwaukee Wave, you know, the universities have done great in Marquette. They do have soccer there. It is a market. It's just not the hotbed of Chicago, right? So it's a little bit different, but you go and you find players, you look at it, and I think there's been other players now who've come out of Milwaukee that are doing quite well. And maybe part of that's because people aren't afraid to look because they're like, well, hey, Esmir played there. So it's really important.
And while Esmir has moved on from the Revolution to play ball in the Netherlands and the Bosnian national team, the Milwaukee Messi moniker has stuck with him.
The Milwaukee Messi, the New England Revolution homegrown player, turned 21 2.5 weeks ago, can send Bosnia and Herzegovina to the World Cup.
Decades distilled into one moment. His parents fleeing genocide in Bosnia 30 years ago to make a home in Appleton. The found family the Bayraktaroviches found in the Waskos. The round trips to Milwaukee, opening paths for future Milwaukee soccer players, and now playing on a global stage to represent his parents' home country. Make this kick, Esmir, and 30 years of dreams come true.
And he does! It got underneath Donnarumma! Bosnia and Herzegovina will play in the FIFA World Cup!
Bosnia and Herzegovina's first game in the World Cup is tomorrow. In about 15 minutes, we'll bring you a Milwaukee ghost story as we celebrate 10 years of Bubbler Talk. But first, we'll meet a local sailor who built her own boat and plans to sail it in the upcoming Race to Alaska. Keep listening to Lake Effect on WUWM, Milwaukee's NPR. You're listening to Lake Effect on 89.7 WUWM. I'm Audrey Nowakowski. Milwaukee has its share of sailboat racing, but women are largely underrepresented in the sport. One woman, Tyann Zems, is trying to change that. Zems is a Milwaukee sailor and boat maker who's about to embark on a journey 4 years in the making, competing in the Race to Alaska. It's an arduous 750-mile race from Washington to Alaska, but you have to do it without a motor. Only wind and human-powered vessels can compete. Zems will be doing the race in a boat she built just for this purpose. WUWM's Rachel Owens met her ahead of the trip to learn about her motivations for entering the race.
I first noticed the boat last summer when coming in and out of the mooring field at South Shore Yacht Club. One evening, while motoring into my slip, a fresh burst of color caught my eye, a splash of tropical aquamarine. I started to notice it unleashed from its mooring, out being sailed in the distance. I never got close enough to see who it was. A woman, I heard. That's all I knew. And that woman is Tyann Zems. And I'm meeting her today on that boat, a 24-foot outrigger canoe named Sweet Creature.
So right now we're on the main platform. This type of boat is called an outrigger canoe, an outrigger sailing canoe. And this is actually the second iteration of this boat. The reason I chose it is because you can change it if you want to. So it started life as a Pacific Proa.
A boat that she built.
I did. Bless her. That's been about 3 years total for the basic build, and then it's just kind of continuing. It's always changing. You know, having a boat now, there's always something to do, so it's constant tweaking.
Oh, do I know. As Tyann said, I'm a boat owner, and that comes with a lot of work. Think house projects that need to be redone each year. Nothing ever goes to plan. Everything costs more than it should, and it takes more time than it should. So building a boat is super impressive, but why?
I have enjoyed making stuff for a very long time, and I've been woodworking as a hobby for a while. It's only not until recently that I started doing it professionally, but I've been sailing for a while and I've been building for a while, and it just felt like a really cool way to combine both of those passions. And then I just kind of like deciding to do the race. I was just like, maybe I could. And I was like, you know what, I'm going to see if I can.
Oh, and the race? What kind of race, you might wonder? Well, this one.
The Race to Alaska is truly daring.
Am I stupid? Is this dangerous?
Yeah, that race. Here's more from a 2022 documentary, Race to Alaska.
The rules of the race are intentionally as simple as possible. There's a starting line in Port Townsend. There's a finish line in Ketchikan. There's $10,000 for a first prize. There's a set of steak knives for a second prize. And the only rule is that your boat can't have a motor on board.
Things are just boring when they're easy.
I heard about the race when I was building the boat. And while I was building, that's a lot of hours by yourself. And I started to think about what I would do with it afterwards. And then I heard about the race and I was like, wouldn't that be cool to do something like this Race to Alaska with this boat? And then I thought about it for maybe 2 years. And then it kind of started to sink in a little bit, and I was just like, yeah, okay, like maybe I can.
And once she was in, she was all in, building it in her basement, which, like most boat projects, didn't go quite to plan.
So we had to do a little bit of deconstructing of a wall to get it out the stairway, a couple little frames out, scoot the boat out of the basement when it was time, and then just, frame it back in.
So a slight remodeling to accommodate your boat project.
Yes. My wife was not thrilled about that because she was like, are you sure you measured? Did you actually? And I was like, oh yeah, I measured a bajillion times. It's totally fine.
But building her own boat would come with some distinct advantages as well.
And the upside to him being the one who built it is I know everything about it. So if I hear something creak, if I hear something weird, I know almost exactly where it is, and I might even know why. I might have been lazy that day and I didn't screw a thing in. There's a whole mess of psychological warfare that goes on when you build a boat like this. So I think we'll get to know each other even better over the race.
And many of the conditions Tyann and Sweet Creature are going to see aren't all that different from what they face here on Lake Michigan.
When you're sailing on the Great Lakes, you get very used to quickly changing conditions. The water is always cold. You can never really settle in whatever the breeze is because it's going to change, and those are all going to come in very handy when I'm out on the ocean. And from what I'm told, conditions change a little bit slower out that way. But a lot of the conditions in this route are going to be similar. So water's going to be cold, wind can be big, waves are going to be steep and short. And that's going to hopefully feel kind of like home, so it won't be totally unknown to me. The whirlpools will be new. The whales will be new.
Okay, whales? So how is she planning on managing them?
Well, look at how small that boat is. The average size of an orca is at least that, if not a little bit bigger. So I think I will be, this is kind of my tagline, but I'll be myself, bricks, and I will be ugly crying. Because it would blow my mind to see an animal that big, that awesome, from this tiny little platform that is my boat. I would love to see it.
Okay, so how is she mentally preparing herself for all this anyway? It's a lot.
So mentally, sometimes I'm just kind of numb. I'm just like, I can just trust that I know what I'm doing and it'll work out, or I won't, and I'll find out really quick, one way or the other. And that's weirdly comforting to think of it that way. It's a little macabre, but it's weirdly comforting because it's like once I get into that situation, I'll either adapt or I won't. And then I'll have to make a decision from there on what I'm going to do.
And just as a reminder, Tyann is doing this all alone. Unlike past racing experience she's had, this time she's the only one making those decisions. So she has to be both crew and skipper. But managing yourself isn't easy.
It's easier to be observant of the people around you and be like, you need to sleep, you need to eat, whatever. And it's a little bit harder to turn that inward. So when I'm out there, I'll have to be managing my own rest, my own food. And one woman who I've connected with who's done this race before, she was like, if you can sleep, sleep. If you have to go backwards to sleep, go backwards to sleep. Backtrack to wherever you were. Make sure you eat, make sure you sleep, and everything else will be fine. And it sounds very basic, but I think that'll probably actually be hard to remember.
Sure, sounds basic until you try it. As a fan of solo sailing myself, mind you, nothing on this scale. One thing I do know is you sure get to know yourself out there on the water, whether you want to or not. So, is Tyann ready for that experience?
I don't know. I'm sure she's there, and I'm sure we'll have a lot of great talks once we're out there. I can only hope for your experience that once I get out there, me and myself will have some good chats, and then we can carry on and make it to Alaska.
And she'll have some good time for chatting with herself, about 2 to 3 weeks, she expects.
I'm estimating about 18 days. I'm not going to sail at night. I'm not going to try to charge crazy weather. I'm just going to keep it easy, keep it simple, keep it safe. So if that all goes to plan, it'll probably be about 18, 20 days.
And while this is a solo venture, Tyann will have some friends with her. Literally, all around her.
So a lot of people have been crazy supportive throughout the whole process. And so if they've done something that was super generous with their time or their advice or their mentorship, whatever they were helping me with kind of became their thing. So my radio is named Jeanette. My sails are Chris and Mickey, the deck is partially named Phyllis. There's everybody kind of has their own little piece, which is nice. So one of the guys from the Race to Alaska podcast was asking me about it, and he's like, what are you going to do to like stay sane out there? And it's like, I'm going to be chatting my friends up the whole time, like, because they're all here somewhere.
I get that. It becomes like Wilson.
Yes.
Right? Okay, yeah.
100%, yeah. I mean, I've been talking to this boat since it was a stack of plywood. So like the boat itself, I feel like if you're a romantic like me, it has its own essence and it has its own vibe now, and it's like it's a living thing because of the way it moves and how I've worked with it. So the boat on top of all the extra bits and pieces of people that came with it, I think will keep me company. It'd be nice.
And it's always nice to have company when things go sideways, as things always can on the water. A testament to her team name for the race, Moana Mo Problems.
It's kind of a tongue-in-cheek, but the Moana part it's a nod to the boat's heritage. So this Polynesian design, it's very popular in Hawaii and the South Pacific Islands. So that was kind of the first bit, is I wanted to acknowledge the boat in this. Secondly, I do love that movie. It's a great movie. Like, I totally relate with that storyline, like young woman kind of being shoved by society in one direction, and then she's like, nope, I'm gonna do this and be way better at it. So like, I love that reflection too. Moana, I believe, also means ocean. So it's like, when you're in big water and when you're doing things that are like type 2 fun, you're also gonna have more problems. Like, you cannot say that you're going to go do something on big water and it's going to be perfectly fine and easy. Like, you're going to have problems.
Type 2 fun being the type that it's not fun while you're in it, but afterwards it makes for a great story. And
Correct.
Then it's fun and enjoyable.
Correct. It's not sitting on the beach with a pina colada. It's doing stupid like Race to Alaska and hoping you make it back in one piece.
Which I have to say is a typical sailor thing. We're a unique breed, if I may say. There's a certain type of like, let's make it as hard as we can on ourselves, and that makes it more fun in the end.
Yeah, I think that's a fair thing to say. We're not well.
What are you hoping to get out of this? Because you're not racing to win, right? You're racing for the journey, for the experience. So what are you really hoping to take away from this?
I mean, if we're being real, I guess validation. So I know that I'm a good sailor, and I know that I make good choices. Quick sidebar, obviously sailing is still very male dominated, and that's a huge bummer for me. Like, I would love to see more women doing it. So if I can complete it, that would be great. And this year, ironically, they just introduced a new award for the first female solo finisher, because a solo woman hasn't finished it to date. So they introduced this new award. I think it's called the Hecate Solo Star Award or something like that. And there's a small like monetary prize, but they're kind of in the same vein. Like, they want to see more women doing this. They want to kind of bring women along and kind of get us up where we should be in doing cool stuff like this. So I guess what I'm trying to get out of it is getting more ladies to do it.
That's awesome. And representing Milwaukee at the same time.
Yeah, I'll do my best.
Yeah.
I'll do my best. I'm sorry if I don't make it, Milwaukee. I'll try. All right, here I go, ramming speed.
And as I cast Tyann and Sweet Creature from the dock, watching her paddle into Lake Michigan, I imagine her traveling the 750 miles on this small boat. No whales so far, but she does come across some ducks.
Come on, dudes, move it. There we go. Thank you.
One collision avoided, one obstacle faced. Many more to come. And while I do miss seeing Sweet Creature on her mooring now, I am happy to think of her and Tyann out there somewhere between Washington State and Alaska, encountering whales and inspiring more ladies to get out on the high seas. In the meantime, this lady has been encouraged to get out and sail, and she'll be thinking of Tyann and Sweet Creature when she does. For 89.7 WUWM and skipper of the vessel Inertia Do, I'm Rachel Lemons.
That was Milwaukee sailor Tyann Zems speaking with WUWM's Rachel Owens. The Race to Alaska begins Sunday morning. To follow Zems along her race route and see photos of her and Sweet Creature, head to WUWM.com. Lake Effect is available as a podcast so you can listen when you like. Find it wherever you get your podcasts, then subscribe, download, and listen on demand. We'll take one more break, and when we come back, we're listening back to a favorite Bubbler Talk to celebrate 10 years of the series that answers your questions about the Milwaukee community. That's next on Lake Effect on Milwaukee's NPR.
This is Lake Effect on WUWM. Happy 10th anniversary to Bubbler Talk. What have you always wanted to know about Milwaukee area's people, places, or culture? Thousands of people have responded to that prompt with their own questions, helping us report out hundreds of really great stories. I'm Michelle Maternowski, WUWM's Audience Innovation Manager. I helped get Bubbler Talk off the ground in 2016, introducing the idea of engagement journalism to our team. To celebrate this big anniversary, we're listening back to some of our favorite Bubbler Talk episodes. And on the podcast, I'm chatting with the WUWM reporters and producers who created them. Today, we're listening to a 2022 story about the Pfister Ghost with Lake Effect executive producer Becky Mortensen. Hi, Becky.
Hi, Michelle.
So we're going to listen to the piece, and then we'll deconstruct it.
Let's do it.
Bubbler Talk, quenching Milwaukee's thirst for knowledge.
I'm WUWM's Becky Mortensen, and for this week's Bubbler Talk, I'm looking into the history, lore, and legend behind the Pfister Hotel, specifically the rumors of a ghost that roams its hallways. The Pfister opened in 1893 and was known as the Grand Hotel of the West. It's decorated throughout with gold trim and grand chandeliers.
The Pfister Hotel is one of Milwaukee's most beloved institutions.
That's Anna Lardnoy. She is a former Pfister narrator and the owner of Gothic Milwaukee, which is known for their walking ghost tours. She spent a lot of time researching the history of the hotel.
It started as a dream of Guido Pfister. He wanted to have the finest hotel, and he dreamed up the Pfister Hotel. Now, unfortunately, he dies before the hotel is finished, but his son, Charles Pfister, seamlessly steps in.
So when did the ghost stories begin? According to Lardnoy, a man named Charles Milwaukee Siver believed the legends date back to the hotel's construction.
He was talking about a time in the past where he lived in a log cabin that was on the land that now holds the Pfister. And it was also a private burying ground. He went to the property to look for the bones of some of these people and could not find them. So that is, I think, where this legend truly begins, that this hotel is built on land that had once been graves.
Since its opening, the Pfister has and continues to host some of the world's most celebrated entertainers, sports players, and dignitaries. The Pfister has hosted every U.S. president since William McKinley. Elvis stayed there in 1977, just 4 months before he died. And the hotel is often the place to stay for many visiting baseball teams taking on the Milwaukee Brewers.
I think it's fun. I think the whole legend thing is fun.
There is a long list of baseball players who've described everything from strange noises to flickering lights to electronics acting strangely, and some would say just a general creepy vibe from the hotel. And then there's what Carlos Martinez experienced in 2018.
The Cardinals pitcher woke up in the middle of the night, jumped onto Instagram saying that he had just been touched by the Pfister Ghost. Well, the next day he plays terribly. He blames it on the Pfister Ghost, and the city cheers.
Some players, even entire teams, opt to stay at different hotels.
And this team and this broadcaster will remain anonymous, but there were so many players on the team who were also wary of the legend of the Pfister Hotel that they forced the team to stay at another hotel entirely.
And it's not just baseball players. Actor Joey Lawrence claimed during his stay in 2006, he was awakened in the night by lights and sounds coming from his daughter's toys. And most recently, rapper and singer Megan Thee Stallion had a little fun with the Pfister Ghost.
Okay, so apparently we are staying in the most haunted hotel in Milwaukee.
When Megan Thee Stallion was in town for Summerfest, she and her entourage did some posts about their ghost hunting experience in the hotel. And if you believe Thee Stallion, and who doesn't, she had a ghostly encounter there.
Don't know how I wound up here, but I will not be that black girl in the movie.
So who is this ghost waking up celebrities and freaking out baseball players? According to Lardnoy, all signs point towards Charles Pfister himself.
Charles Pfister is so closely connected with this hotel, he becomes kind of the spokes ghost. And if you had to have a ghost in a hotel, I can't think of a better one than Charles Pfister. Because Charles Pfister, it appears, just wants you to have an amazing time in his hotel and wants the hometown baseball team to win.
I reached out to the hotel, and they did not get back to me. They generally don't comment on any rumors related to the hotel's ghost, but they did post on Twitter in 2013 saying, "The only thing haunting us here is the spirit of hospitality."
You can go there for the elegance. You can go there for the fabulous service. You can go there for the ghost. You won't be disappointed at the Pfister.
Ghost or no ghost, the Pfister Hotel is one of Milwaukee's most famous landmarks. And who doesn't love a good ghost story?
If you think of the Pfister ghost as Charles Pfister, with a careful eye watching over his hotel, it's actually quite delightful.
This piece is so fun to listen back to. I was like laughing out loud, even though I've heard it so many times. I especially love all the clips of the Brewers announcers, and I'm just thinking about the work that you must have did to find those.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts listening back to this?
It was really fun to do. It was almost like a dream come true to get to, like, for work, I get to talk about a ghost in a hotel. Like, it just was so fun that I got to do this
What
story.
makes that a dream come true?
Well, I do love anything that's a little bit odd. So this story for me was just like, yeah, it was just perfect for me to get the opportunity to do it. Was really fun.
So have you continued to track Pfister ghost sightings?
I feel like it comes up every once in a while. So when the RNC was here, I think we noticed that there was like a bunch of hits on this story because people were like Googling, wait, what's the Pfister? And why is it haunted? And like every once in a while, another baseball player will be like, I'm not staying there. And then this story will like pop up again. So yeah, it comes up every once in a while.
So my big question for you is, do you believe in ghosts?
Not really. I think they're so fun to. It's fun to think about. It's fun to like think about like spooky stuff or whatever. But like, I've never seen one. So.
You need a haunted experience. Yeah.
Not with a ghost.
But something else.
Oh my God.
You don't have to talk about it if you don't want to.
I will. Okay. Not with a ghost. I had an experience once that I can't explain. And I tell people a story and they're like, that's not that scary. But when I was a teenager, my mom got my sister and I TVs for our bedroom, which was like a very big deal.
Yeah.
But like not a TV you think of today, like the old ones with like a back on it and like a VCR, like static in between channels or whatever. And I got home one night and I turned my TV on and it was a guy sleeping. And it looked like someone like set a camera on someone's bedside table. It was just like a black and white like guy sleeping. And so I like watched it for a second and I changed the channel and it was the same thing.
On every channel?
I'd only changed it once and then I turned the TV off. I was so scared. I like ran and got my mom. And luckily she believed me because I was like so freaked out by it. And so she came in and we like flipped through every single channel. We couldn't find it. We checked the TV guide and I can't explain it. It was
weird.
I like will never forget it. It was such a weird thing to see and I truly can't explain what it was. Not a ghost, but also like what was that?
A creepy experience.
Yeah. It was pretty, yeah.
I don't like that story.
I know. Okay, most people are like, whatever, that's not that weird. I'm like, I wish you could have seen it because it was so weird.
Yeah, that will stick with you.
Yeah, it has.
So a part of like covering the Pfister ghost was that like the Pfister went and talked to you about, which makes complete sense. Like they don't want to be known as the most haunted hotel
for sure
in Milwaukee. But I feel like this is a really good opportunity for us to talk about a tour that I went on that you missed out on.
My feelings are so hurt about this, Michelle.
I'm wondering if you want to set this like the scene a little bit.
Okay. This would have been 2 or 3 years ago when we were at the
maybe
3 years ago. We were at the Milwaukee Press Club Awards, which is at the Pfister Hotel
every year. Yeah.
I don't even know what floor it's on, but there's like a big banquet hall and gorgeous art, which Michelle and I are a big fan of. And yeah, we were having dinner, and Michelle and I were sat next to each other, and then she disappeared. And came back with a story that I'm very jealous of.
Really, all I did was like get up to go to the bathroom. But because of Becky's story, every time I go to the Pfister and I like walk past someone who works there, I will ask them like, do you think this is haunted here? And sometimes I'll get people like, no, and other people like, yeah, I won't go over to this part of the hotel. And I just asked the perfect person at the perfect moment, because before I knew it, we were like going through a back door that led to like an employees only place to a special elevator.
So
and then we were up on this floor that is like a storage area. And he took me around to the places that he kind of gets the most freaked out at in the hotel. And like, I didn't experience a ghost, but it was a creepy space with like old dusty furniture. And he walked around and he's like, yeah, I don't like being up here, and other people don't like being up here either. And then I came back down and I'm like, Becky, guess where I went?
I will never forgive you for doing that without me. I was so jealous.
Okay, so enough about ghosts. Moving on. Well, I want to talk about something that's great about Lake Effect, and there's a lot of things that's great about Lake Effect, but I think one thing when it comes to Lake Effect and Bubbler Talk is that on Lake Effect, you have room to air longer versions of Bubbler Talk episodes, because on the other parts of the radio that we aired on Morning Edition and All Things Considered, we're really limited to 4 minutes and 30 seconds. And that is like the bane of people's existence. Like, you have to get your Bubbler Talk down to 4 minutes, 30 seconds with intro and outro. But then here comes along Becky of like, hey, over here, you can go a little bit longer.
8 minutes, 10 minutes, we'll take it.
You get a minute, you get a minute. So thinking about these extended versions of Bubbler Talk, do you have any favorite episodes that stand out to you? Like a story that's kind of able to maybe be more fully realized because it had that extra time?
Yes. Excret Nunez's celery farm story. She did a longer version of that, and I loved every minute of that story. Like, how she got that down to the required 4:30 for not Lake Effect, I don't know, but I felt like every single thing she included in that story like made the story so good. And you can have a great story in 4:30, but if you have all this great information, you need more time. Like Joy's story on the Bayview Massacre, she spent so much time researching. Like, you really got to give something some more time to just get an understanding of how hard the producers work and how much information they gather. So I love that Lake Effect gives people a little bit more space to look at all this great stuff I found.
Well, this really makes me want to eat celery. Okay, so dipping a little bit into your editor side, what elements do you think make for a memorable Bubbler Talk story?
Really good guest cuts. Great sound from a guest. So like Anna's, what did she say about Megan Thee Stallion? Like, someone messaged me after that. It was like, that was maybe my favorite thing I've ever heard on a Bubbler Talk. So just like, sometimes you get these just like incredible just one-liners from guests that you're like, yes, I love
this is gold.
Like, that's like Bubbler Talk or any story. Like, sometimes something just like really hits with something that someone is saying. So yeah, as an editor, I'm like, wow, that was poignant, or wow, that was funny, you know. And
or you're almost like finding like, how do you fit that one line into how does your story revolve around this one line so it can be included?
Exactly, yeah.
So if you could submit a question to Bubbler Talk, what would your question be?
Let's see so on the ghost beat.
Yeah, are you going to submit a bunch of ghost ones for you to cover?
There's a stoplight in Shorewood that I'm stopped at often, and there's a sign on a like a light pole right there that's "See the ghost train at 9 p.m. and 9:15." I'm like, what's the ghost train?
Oh yeah, we did a story on that when it first came out.
Yeah, so I ended up looking it up because I was like, what is this? Like, I want to know what the ghost train is. And there's like a little display about it or whatever. It like celebrates a high-speed train that used to come through Shorewood, and it's like a art exhibit. But yeah, that was for a while, that was the thing. I was like, what is this?
I like that you could look for an answer and WWM already had the answer.
That's true for a lot of Bubbler Talk questions that come in, is like, we can tell you about that. Like, we've done that one already. So
yes, this story was done 7 years ago, and here is the link to this really random question that you had. Yeah, that's kind of the beauty of Bubbler Talk. Well, this went by really quickly, But thank you so much for joining me to celebrate Bubbler Talk today,
Yes.
Becky. And I'm going to ask you to do one more thing. So can you help me thank our listeners for all the great questions that they've submitted to us over the years?
Absolutely. Thank you for all the questions that you have submitted. They bring me joy, and I think a lot of people at the station who hear them. And then I also hope for the entire community, because you might be asking a question that your neighbor wants to know or I want to know. So keep them coming, because it's a really like joyful, cool thing that we do at WUWM, and we appreciate you also participating and helping us answer questions for the community.
You can send us your questions at wuwm.com/bubblertalk, and you can subscribe to the Bubbler Talk podcast, where you can listen to some of these longer episodes that Becky talked about. And we'll keep listening to some of our favorites for this 10th anniversary season.
That wraps up today's show. I'm Audrey Nowakowski. If you've missed any of Lake Effect this week, you can find all of our conversations at wuwm.com. If you'd like to take the show on the go, you can download the Lake Effect podcast wherever you get your podcasts. Tomorrow on Lake Effect, we'll learn about Brillantes, a soccer club for young Latinas. Thank you so much for joining us today, right here on listener-supported 89.7 WUWM, Milwaukee's NPR.